Hello and welcome back on this new video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe so you can get a notification whenever I upload a new content. So here I'm going to actually continue where I stopped last time, right? We had the first part of this video which has to do with how to actually use the Federal Reserve economic database to extract data, economic data for analysis. So the first part was mostly focused on how to get the API and how to make use of the API, to get it set up and then start extracting your first data, like financial data. So we look up into some few financial data like S&P 500 and the likes. So now I'm going to use here going to use the same database here, but you're trying to extract unemployment rates and GDP and analyze them and see how the unemployment varies from one state to another. So again, we are going to start with our Fred dot search. So I'm going to search for unemployment here. That's the keyword I'm going to use here. Okay, unemployment. I'm going to search for unemployment here, and let's see what we got here. Name unemployment is not here, is not defined, so definitely you need to put here some quotation here before it works. Very important. So let's see what we have here as unemployment rate. So we have here on rate, which is actually that's the title here, right here. It says unemployment rate, so that's the unemployment rate actually the overall in the United States. And the observation varies from start from 1948, back in 1948 up to date. Clearly you can see here this is 2023 February 1st. Okay, and the frequency is here is monthly, the unit is percent here, is seasonally adjusted, and you have all these details here, right? And we can scroll down again to see other unemployment. This is another unemployment rate here, and the same year as well is a monthly, so on percentages, but this is not adjusted, this is not seasonally adjusted. Okay, and we can keep on scrolling. We have another one here. This is non-cyclical rate of unemployment. We have different form in unemployment. This one is continued claims, insured unemployment. So these are claims here. The CCSA is actually claim. Another one here is continued claim in insured unemployment. So this one is insured unemployment as well. I believe one is seasonally adjusted, one is not. Okay, so this is a number. Actually, this claim value is a number of people that actually claim. And this is weekly. Actually, this is a weekly data, it's not monthly, and so one is seasonally adjusted, one is not. You can clearly see here continued claim, also referred to as insured unemployment. It's the number of people who have already filed an initial claim and who have experienced a week of unemployment and then filed to continue claim. So this is actually claims data. So what I'm going to do here is just to take a quick look at the unemployment rate, and then we're going to look up to actually the CCSA, which is actually the claim data. And I'm going to focus on the seasonally adjusted. So the first one is adjusted, this one as well. So let's look up into the on rate actually here. So I'm going to use my Fred get series dot get series. Okay, we have it right here, and then the series we are going to get here is on rate. Okay, that's the first series I'm going to look up to, on rate. So let's look up to the series here. So that's the series right here, and then we can actually plot this. So let me call this on rate. Okay, and this is a general unemployment rate. Okay, so on rate dot plot, we don't even need to do that anyway. So let's plot it and see how it looks. Okay, and that's how it looks here. That's the plot. Again, this looks smaller. I can make it bigger, and if you want to make it bigger here, these are the details here. Okay, if we are trying to make this plot bigger here, I'm going to put maybe size. Okay, so the fixed size is going to be something like 15/8. That's how I used to take, and then I'll give it a title equal to unemployment rate. Okay, unemployment rate in US. Okay, unemployment rate in United States. Okay, what else can I? Okay, yes. So I may want to make this kind of bigger. Let's keep it that way and see how this may look. So this is what we obtain here. This is not bad. This looks good. Yeah, I like the way it looks. Okay, that's unemployment rate in US. So this is from 1948. I believe that's, yeah, I mean it's 48. Yeah, from 1948 down to date, 2023, and that's how it was. Clearly you can see how this is actually. So we have some high unemployment rate here. Clearly you can see here, in the mid 80s. In the 80s you can see what really happens here. I believe it's a financial crisis in the 80s, and you can see here in 2020, 2010, 11. Clearly that's the financial crisis of 2008, and the consequences were felt here. So you can clearly see the unemployment rate was higher, is around 10%. But in 2020, clearly you can see that's when we have the highest unemployment rate. It's two digits, is like 15 or 16% here. Clearly you can see. So that's what really happened. And we can look at the claim as well. Okay, I can also look up to the claim, and the claim data here, I believe this. Oh, let me scroll this down. Yeah, CCSA. Okay, CCSA. That's the claim data. So we can also use Fred dot get series. Okay, and I'm going to get the CCSA data. Okay, and then I'm going to plot it. So we can get this series first and see. This is how the series look, and these are numbers. That's the number of people that actually claim. Hopefully, I believe it's in millions. Dot plot. We are going to plot this, and I'm going to do actually the same. I'm gonna give the figure a figure size, and I'm going to give it a title. So let's do this. Okay, and that will be unemployment claims in US. So that will be claims. Okay, in US. So let's see what we got here. So these are the claims here, and clearly when you look up here, compare these two, actually you will see how actually they were moving, right? The claims. So clearly you can see again over here in 2010, you see the claims, they went up. In 2020 as well, it's the same thing. You see it's a very big jump here. All right, it's a big jump here. The unemployment claims, clearly you can see it's over 2 million. Is a very big jump here. So yeah, that's actually what you can see clearly when you look at the unemployment and then the claims data. They kind of go the same way. And yeah, when challenging you can actually even plot these two out together in the same graph and see how the claims and the unemployment actually goes. So yeah, so let's move on here. I'm going to now focus more on state-wise unemployment. So I'm going to change my search here. Remember, my search was just unemployment. That's the keyword that I use. So I'm going to change my keyword here and put in here Fred dot search. So now I'm saying, hey, I want to focus on something different, right? Search unemployment, but this time around I will say state. Okay, state unemployment. So I'm trying to get like state unemployment or unemployment by state. It's the same thing. You can put unemployment by state or state unemployment rate. So let's see what we get here. So again, I have this unemployment rate that I got earlier here with the series ID on rate. Okay, let's see if we have a statewide data here. Not yet. We may have some state data hidden there. I do have an unemployment rate here in Syracuse. So Syracuse is not a state, it's just a city in New York. Okay, unemployment rate in Spokane, Valley, Virginia, and again, this is just not really what I want, quite what I want, right? I want to focus more on something like a given state. So what we're going to do here is like when you look up here, it's been broken down here. After these first 10 data, we can see actually what is in between here because there is a large amount of data here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just maybe focus on a subset of the data set, right? So I'm going to use here .ilog. So I'm going to locate, and I'm going to locate maybe the first say from 8th downward. Let's see what I get here. Okay, so I'm trying to actually get something different here. And again, let me see what I've done. Okay, so at least we got something different here. Clearly you can see we have unemployment rate here in California. Okay, I have unemployment rate in California. This is something like that I want. This is just the one state of many, right? We start from 1976. It's a monthly data, it's seasonally adjusted in percentages. So this is actually what I want to obtain. I want to get something like, that is seasonally adjusted, and I want to have it monthly. Okay, so I want to focus on monthly data, and then I want it to be seasonally adjusted, and I want them to be statewide. So we have at least one state here, which is unemployment rate in California, right? So what I'm going to do here is to narrow down my search, right? I want to narrow down my search, so we can just get rid of this. What I'm going to do here is to narrow down my search, right? So I'm going to actually, I'm not going to sort, but I'm going to filter. I'm going to filter, and let's make it bigger so you see actually what the filter is about here. When you look up the filter, here is a tuple, right? It's a tuple which is optional, and then the filter is based on two units. Okay, you have the filter variable and then the filter value, right? So the valid filter variable, are frequency, unit, and then seasonally adjusted. Seasonal adjustment. So what I'm going to do here, these are the value of the filter. So if I want to use filter here, I need to put, if I want to use unit, so I need to put the filter variable, which is unit, and then the filter value will be percentage, because that's what I'm going to use. The seasonal adjustment, if that's the variable, and then the value will be seasonally adjusted. So that's exactly what I'm going to use here. I'm going to work on the frequency, the unit, and then the seasonal adjustment, right? So I'm going to narrow down my search on these metrics. That's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to search and then put in here filter. Okay, I'm going to use here filter, okay, equal to, and then I'm going to filter this by say frequency, right? I'm going to filter this based of frequency. So the frequency here is actually my filter variable, and then I'm gonna get the value, and the frequency will be monthly. So my value will be here monthly. Okay, so great. So this is actually what we were actually trying to obtain here. Focus on unemployment rate, but we want to get statewide unemployment. And again, we can do like what I did earlier here and locate. And we already know when I trying to to locate the unemployment rate here, focus on maybe the 10th downward. Actually I did 8th before. Clearly we see that we see that the unemployment rate statewide here. Clearly you see this is what I obtained here. So you can see Texas unemployment rate in Texas, unemployment rate in New York, NYU. So this is actually how the unemployment rate actually looks like. So I'm going to actually focus, I'm going to actually extract, okay, statewide unemployment rate. And to do that, this is how we are going to actually go about it. Okay, let's give it a name. I'm going to call this unemployment rate. So my unemployment rate here. Now what I'm going to do is simply so let me rerun this. Okay, let's rerun this again. So we have our unemployment rate here. Oh no, actually I don't need this, so we can get rid of this. Let me rerun again. Okay, that's our unemployment rate here, and I can actually run this and make sure we have it right. Now what I'm going to do here, I narrow down my search on frequency, monthly frequency. That's not just it. I want to get actually the unit. I want it to be in percentage, and then I want it to be seasonally adjusted. So I could just go ahead and add them up here, or I can simply use query to get that. So I can use my on rate here, and that would be my unemployment rate that I created earlier on. Okay, dot query. Okay, so I'm going to use here query function. So I'm going to query, okay, my unemployment rate dot query, where the unit, okay, the unit that we have here, okay, is equal to yeah, the query always come with this, right? So when you want to query whatever you want to query, you need to put this quotation. So but the unit here, I want to focus on percent, okay, and the unit is equal to percent, and I want to focus on this as well, the seasonal adjustment. Okay, this right here, seasonal adjustment, I want it to be seasonally adjusted. Okay, so let me grab this, equal to seasonally adjusted. So these are the two element that I want to focus on. So I want to query these based on these two. That's the first thing I'm going to do right here. The second thing I want to do, so I'm focusing on data that are actually seasonally adjusted. The second thing I want to do, because I want to grab statewide data set, I'm going to actually use, you know, strange contents and then extract data that are statewide data set, right? So when you look up to this data set, we already know that actually a given, you know, a statewide data set, you know, has a particular string which says unemployment rate in a given state. So on this title here, okay, let me see, yeah, the title should be lowercase here. So the title here, so within the title, unemployment rate title, we want it to contain strange that, okay, the string contains so here's what the string contains here. That would be unemployment. Actually, I can copy this right here, unemployment rate in, that's just what we want to focus on, unemployment rate in a given state, unemployment rate in a state. So unemployment rate, let me put a little space in there. So I want to focus more on data that says unemployment rate in and then a given state. So unemployment rate in here, unemployment rate in another state. So let me actually separate this. Let me separate this from here. Let's run this. Okay, let's first of all run this. And yeah, so this is what we have here. Okay, when we narrow down the search here, so everything is clean now. We know that we have a frequency monthly data set here, and we also know that we have it a unit as percentage, and we have it as being seasonally actually adjusted. So everything actually here is seasonally adjusted, right? Now the next thing we want to do here to get statewide data set is to focus on data that contains this string, you know, unemployment rate in a given state. We want the title to contain this actually, unemployment rate in a given state. So any title that any data set that contains this title, we want to focus on this, and clearly you can see this does not contain this unemployment rate in, okay, because I put a space here anyway. So in, because I want to get in a given state, right, unemployment rate in this. So what I'm going to do here to is for me to focus on the entire data set that we call on rate. So we are going to close this and trying and get our unemployment rate here. All right, so this is what we got here. So we have here you know, in this close bracket we have, you know, unemployment rate in California, Texas, New York, Florida, Ohio, and so on. So we have all these unemployment rate in here in West Virginia. So there is something that I actually do not, I'm not quite interested in. Okay, I want to get here statewide data set. Like let's start, let me see this shape. Okay, you can look up to the shape here and see what's the shape of this data set that we just obtained. Oh sorry, what's the shape of this data set? This is 58, right? And we do know that we only have like say what, 50 state plus DC, that should be 51. And maybe if Puerto Rico is in there, that will be 52. So we only have like 50 or 50, 51 state actually plus DC. Now I have 58, so there are, you know, extra data that we may not need, that needs to, we need to look up and get rid of. So we have 58, right? We have 58. Let me rerun this again. Yeah, so I have 58 data point, and there are some data point that I'm not interested in, like this right here, unemployment rate in South Census region. I don't need that. Okay, unemployment rate in Northeast region, South, we don't need that, right? I just want to have unemployment rate in Ohio, in a state not in south, east, southwest, or whatever. Now what I'm going to do here is to get rid of of these, right? So let's give this a name. Okay, I'm gonna call this state-wise unemployment. Okay, state unemployment. So let's give it a vector, and then we can rerun this. Okay, and now the next thing I'm going to do here, and then we can look up to it and see, make sure that we have, oh no, go back here, run this one more time, and make sure we have it right here. Okay, so what we're going to do is to drop all this data that contains census region, because we are not interested on the census region. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to actually do the same thing here. Okay, I'm going to run this same line of code, but instead I'm going to only focus on any data that contains census, right? So instead of actually look at string contains unemployment, I'm going to focus on census. So contains actually here census. So any string that contains census, this is what I want to get rid of here in my sen. So we can run this line of code and see we have like 4. So we have 4 rows that contains this unemployment rate in Midwest census. Obviously we have 4 regions anyway. Okay, we have Midwest, we have Southeast and Southwest. So we have Midwest, okay, we have West region, we have South census, and then we have Northeast, right? So these are the 4 regions that we have. So I want to get rid of them. So let's call this census data, and then rerun this. Now what I'm going to use here is simply I'm going to use this Boolean indexing. There is Boolean indexing that we can use to actually get rid of what we don't want in a given data set. So we already have our data set here, which is state unemployment, but within that state unemployment we do not want this. So what I'm going to use is just use my state unemployment here, and then within that state unemployment, what I'm going to do here is to actually use numpy dot is in. Okay, and is in, I'm going to use my state unemployment data, right? And then use my census data. Okay, use my census data. Now here, because I want to get rid of the census data, I'm going to use a tilde here to say, hey, I do not want to keep, because when you use numpy dot is in, is that you are saying you want to keep the data that is in within, right? But when you put this tilde, you are telling you are literally telling numpy, hey, listen, within my state unemployment data, I want to remove the census data. That's literally what we are saying here. So that's what I'm going to do here, and it's going to get me rid of anything about all these 4 the 4 rows of the unemployment, about the census data. So anything that contains census, I want them to be out of my data set, right? So this is what we have here. And clearly what you will see here is that we have some duplicate, duplicates have been created here. We need to remove this duplicate. So we can just put in here drop duplicates, and then see. So we want to get rid of the any data that is being duplicated here. Okay, and we can rerun this, and clearly now we do not have any to blame. We can look at this side. We know before we having 58, now we're supposed to have 54, because so I can look at the shape here and see what I have. 54, great. So we only have 54 data set. Again, we do not have 54 state. We need state-wise data set where we do not have 54 states. Something is happening, and what we are going to do, so let's give it the same name here. Okay, state unemployment, right? So right, so what is going on here, let me rerun this line of code here. So what's going on here is simply we are going to look at the index of our data set, right? So let me look up to state unemployment dot index. Okay, I'm going to look up to the index. These are my indexes, and we're going to see what's really going on with our indexes. So there is actually 2 data sets here that we may not be interested in. The first one is this. I don't even know what it is. LAS, TMNT, something like that. This is not something that we want to keep in our data set, right? And there is another one, LAS, TM, something here. So these 2 are not the data set that we do not want to keep them, because honestly I don't know what these. Actually we can even look up if they happens to appear here. Let's see, state, run this and see what's okay. We have one of them here, unemployment rate in Cleveland. We see Cleveland. Cleveland is not a state. It's just, you know, a city in Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio. That's the city of Cleveland in Ohio. We do not want that. Okay. We do not want. So these two we are going to get rid of them to have a clean state-wise data set. What I'm going to use here is simply say here, hey, listen, within my state data set, I want to drop. Okay. I want to drop these two. So the first one is this. Actually, we have them right here in my IDs. I mean, in my indexes. So we're going to drop this. And the second one, I want to drop this as well. So these are the two that we want to get rid of to have a clean statewide data set, right? So we can run this line of code here, and I'm going to get my state unemployment data clean. So, and this is a clean data set here. We already got rid, and we can look at this, the shape, and definitely we're going to have something 52. Great. So we have 52. Definitely we have 50 states plus New York and sorry plus DC and I believe Puerto Rico. That should be something like that. And again we can check and double check and make sure actually, because this is 54 state. And again when you look at the indexes here, we'll see. So we will get down to the instead of indexes we can look up to the title, and definitely the title they are very long, but I'm pretty sure we have DC in there, and then we do have Puerto Rico. So we can actually look up to say state data, the title. Okay, so these are the title here, right? So we have the ID, and then this is California, New York, and Puerto Rico. Clearly you can see Puerto Rico here, right? So Puerto Rico is part of it. We can keep it, it's fine. So Puerto Rico is here. Okay, that makes it actually 52. It's supposed to be 51, like 50 states plus DC has 51. Puerto Rico is part of it. I'm sure DC is in there. It's right here. When you look at the title with District of Columbia is something long, so this is it right here, probably in the District of Columbia. So that's the reason why we have actually 52 52 states in our data set. Great. So we do have these, and what we may want to do here is simply to actually plot the unemployment rate, for all the state, and see actually how this looks like. And before we do that, we need to get actually the series, right? We need to get the series for each of these states, because right now we do not have the series, right? So we need to get the series. Like say if I want to use this to get the series for any given, say California for example, right? If I want to get this, I could use Fred get series. Okay, and then I'm going to use it to get say CAUR. So that's California unemployment rate, and I'm going to get the series, right? So that's for California, but I want to get the series for all these these IDs, for all these indexes. So what we are going to use, I'm going to just loop through through all these IDs, or if you want all these indexes, because these are the indexes that we have here for the series, right? So I'm going to look through all of them and get the series right here. So this is one of them, and then we can just go ahead and just use get series California and get series another state and so on for 52 states. Doesn't make sense. So we're going to just look through it, and then we're going to grab all of the 52 states, right? Okay, no. I'm going to say here for I in okay in this actually the series that I created in state dot series. Okay, for I in state unemployment. Okay, dot index. Okay, I'm going to define something. I'm going to use Fred dot get series, like the one that I did right now. Series, instead of saying series of California or New York or whatever, I'm going to use series of I, because we have all these indexes here, which is 52, right? We have all these indexes right here. Okay, and we extracted the indexes, all of these. So I want to use the indexes. So for I, instead of indexes, okay, we want to get actually series ID. So let me call this df. Yeah, let's call this df. Okay, df equal to get series dot And then the next thing I'm going to, when I get this series, okay, when I get all these series, I'm going to use them in the frame, in the data frame. So I'm going to use here, okay, so df equal to df dot to frame. Okay, so I'm going to put all of them, into a data frame. Okay, so that df equal to, df dot to frame of I. So we are going to put, all of this, into a data frame, right? And actually, you know what, let me grab all of these. I'm going to call these output. Okay, I'm going to call this output equal to, and then I'm going to append this. So here we're going to have output, okay, dot append, and I'm going to append my data frame. Okay, so output here will be output dot append, dfc. Let's run this line of code, and then we can look up to our output. And I believe the output is going to be it's running, it's taking time though. Actually, here is the name, right? So let's look up to the output here. Okay, so this is actually what's going on here. Clearly you can see what's going on, right? So we have 556 rows, 1 column. So here is what we are having here. We have a list. Okay, we have a list, and the I here is actually the name. Okay, is the name that I'm giving to my data frame, right? The name I'm giving it I, which means it will attribute the name of each state to the data frame. So this is a we have a list, of all of the 52 states. And actually, instead of I can actually look through, I can look up to, the first state here. You see, this is California. Okay, it's a list. The second one here, that's Texas, and I can change here. The third one, and so on, right? The fifth one actually, Ohio, and so on. So that's just what is going on. So it's a list, and you have all of these. And what we're going to do to have everything in a data frame is just to concatenate, the list. So we are going to concat and then have, everything, all together. So I'm going to use here penner dot concat. Okay, so I'm going to concat my output here, axis equal to 1. Okay, because I want to do it like column wise, not row wise. So I want to have the name of each state, once every state will be in 1 column. Okay, not the other way around. So axis equal to 1. So it's going to do that, column wise, not row wise. And then we have this here. All right, so we have, California here, we have Texas, and so on. So that's what we have here. So the indexes are here, and then we have all the 52 states here. So now let me give it a name again. That should be the same thing. Okay, state wise data set. Okay, state unemployment data, right? So what I'm going to do here, let me run this line of code. What I'm going to do here with my state, and again we can run that and see that we have the data set. So what we're going to do here, we can actually plot, this. Okay, we can plot out the hours. So this is a lot of data. Plot is very interesting when you want to plot, a large amount of, of different variables here. So we are going to use, plotly here to do that. Okay, so I'm going to use here so we are going to use plotly dot line. Okay, I'm going to use a line chart here with my state unemployment data here. Let's see how to look. So a line chart here, how will the line chart looks. You see, this is quite interesting, and there is a lot of stuff you can do here. Okay, you can download it to PNG. You can zoom. Okay, you all these details here, by a given data set here, right? So you have here this PI is Puerto Rican, unemployment rate. The index August 2011 is 15%. See, when you look down here, value is 23. That was back in 1982. Clearly you can see here Puerto Rico was not hit hard though, during the pandemic. So when you look up here, the highest here, in the years 2020, clearly you can see something like Nevada. Nevada in 2020 was 24.7% unemployment, which is high. Obviously, it's tourism and so on, gambling stuff. People travel down there to Nevada, for fun. And definitely, in 2020, back in March, which is what, May 2020, they shut down all, the airport and everything like that. People couldn't move around, and so clearly you can see that explains, what really happens here. Again, this is 20.8% for another state. And so on. So you have all these, and again, this is too much information to digest. Now the most the most interest. I mean, is the beauty of it is like over here, you can actually double click here to only focus on whatever metric that you want to look up to. So it's a see this is produced with Plotly, right? So and again, you can get out here of these, and then use a local. You can create an app of it, and then set it to your website, and then anyone can just go in there and visualize and look up the words he wants to. So this is something much interesting about this. And again, I was saying here you can isolate. You see here it said double click on legend here to to see. So when you double click on it, it's going to actually isolate and focus more on whatever you want to look up to. So this is quite interesting. Okay, and this is what I'm doing here. Clearly you see we only focus on these two, which is actually state of Arkansas and Oklahoma, right? So if you just want to look up and see actually which one in back in 2020, which ones have been clear, you can see from the 80s up to 2020 actually, Arkansas has the highest unemployment rate as compared to Oklahoma. Clearly you can see that here. So yeah, this is how actually you can compare different states. If I would say I didn't want to compare that, and I want to use, say, you want to look up to New York, because New York was hit hard by the pandemic, and state like, I don't know, say California. If you want to compare the unemployment rate in these two states, you can clearly see here what's going on here pre-pandemic. So pre-pandemic, actually California has, say, roughly the highest unemployment rates, right? After the 80s up until before pandemic, California has the highest unemployment rate. Clearly, you can see here in 2010 it was 12%. In New York, it was something like 8%. And clearly, you can see what's going on here. Before the pandemic in 2019, the unemployment was completely down at 4% in California, 3.7 in New York. Very close, pretty much close, but after depending in 2020, early, the first 3 months, I would say April already 2020, the unemployment jumps in California, to something around 16%, right? And it's very close in New York. I think it's something like 15% in New York as well. So yeah, this is what you can see actually, after the pandemic, right? The unemployment is quite close, pretty much the same, in California and New York as well. But before pre-pandemic, New York was doing well. So this is how actually you can switch over. If you don't want to compare with New York, you can choose another state like Florida and see how it goes. You can even add New York to it if to compare like three different states, okay? And you can reduce it, you can narrow down to two state and so on. So that's how you can actually play with Plotly. When you have Plotly here to to plot a graph, that's how you can play with it. And again, this is very useful when you have a large amount of data, bunch of variables to process. Plot is very much very interesting. It's very, it comes handy. You can play around with data set. You can plug on, jog in there whatever you want. So this is what I have for this. So you can explore, the database. I think I gave you all the tools that you may need, to extract whichever metric that you may be interested in. And yeah, and run any analysis that you may be interested in, if, whether you are trying to write a paper or you are doing a person, a project whatsoever, any data that you may be interested in that is in the Fred database. I think with all the things that I cover, in my first and second video here, it should be what you should have, all the necessary tool and all the things that you may need, to explore on your own and get the best out of it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.